Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Raven, who is also Brooke, and in today's video, I will be talking about all the distractions that Trump has made to distract the American people from the Epstein files. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to follow me on all my social media platforms, and remember that this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
And usually in my videos, I say that nothing in this video is facts, but in this video, I will be using facts, so let's just get right into it. So for this video, I'm going to start off with the smaller things, quote unquote smaller things that Trump has done to distract us from these Epstein files. And then I'll get into the major things that he has done to distract us from the Epstein files. So the first minor thing is something that happened recently. He changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And that name has not been used since the 1940s. It was changed in 1947 to the Department of Defense. And in defense of this change, Trump said, "I think it's a much more appropriate name in light of where the world is today." He says that it sends a message of victory. And also the executive order, it says that the Department of War conveys a stronger message of readiness and resolve compared to the Department of Defense, which emphasizes only defensive capabilities. And I forgot who I was talking to, I think a coworker, about this name change, and they made a very good point that the Department of War makes the United States, I should say, seem like a dictatorship in a sense, and kind of like a country who invades on other people, who just loves to cause destruction for no reason and cause conflict for no reason. Also, this name change is going to cost over $1 billion because this name is associated with many agencies, many email addresses, many uniforms, and emblems. So they're going to have to physically go to basically each category and just change around the name, which again is going to cost over $1 billion. Our tax money is literally going toward changing a name from the Department of Defense to the Department of War. What are we doing here? The second thing that Trump did is now he's whining about not having a Nobel Prize, and he started conveying this need for it about a month ago. And he literally called Norway's prime minister and demanded that he get a Nobel Peace Prize for ending, well, he says he solved 7 wars. Mind you, something that he said he was going to do in the beginning of his presidency was in the Russia and Ukraine conflict, and nothing has happened. It's September. Nothing. Trump also takes credit for resolving conflict between India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia, Serbia and Kosovo, Thailand and Cambodia, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Armenia and Azerbaijan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And then Israel and Iran. And each claim has not been proven technically that Trump did resolve, or like he said again, solve 7 wars. And India has said themselves that Trump had nothing to do with the conflicts they had with Pakistan. And also recently, which is crazy, is that RFK and the Pfizer CEO said that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for basically funding the Pfizer vaccine when COVID first happened, which is crazy because like their whole fan base doesn't even believe in any of the vaccines, but now you're technically taking credit for it. So now I'm about to get into the big things that Trump has done to distract us from the Epstein files. And the first thing to me that was big was when he fired the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. And in her firing, they cited that she was committing fraud by falsifying statements to apply for a home mortgage. Mind you, these allegations were brought by the Federal Housing Financial Agency Director, Bill Plute. And now Trump is saying that she was fired because of these allegations, and now they are investigating her. And Cook herself has said that she is not resigning and that Trump has no legal standing to fire her, and that she was fired through a tweet, basically. And also, it just doesn't sit right with me that a white man is trying to place blame on a black woman and basically ruin her whole career. And there has yet to be any evidence that has came out proving that she has committed fraud. She was basically fired without being proven guilty. Another thing that has happened recently is that there was an explosion of a Venezuelan ship in the southern Caribbean Sea, and it was enacted by our US troops. They claim that it was a drug cartel and that 11 people died on the ship, and those 11 people were part of a Venezuelan gang. And that gang is called Tren de Aragua. Again, I'm very sorry when I mispronounce things in this video. And this strike was supposed to be seen as a warning to Latin America to not bring drugs into the United States. And in a statement, Trump says, "The strike occurred while the terrorists were at sea in international waters, transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Please let this serve as a notice to anybody even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America." And also, Venezuela responded through their communications minister by saying, "Based on the video provided, it is very likely that it was created using artificial intelligence." He couldn't say what tools could have been used to create the video, but he said it showed an almost cartoonish animation rather than a realistic depiction of an explosion. And also, many people said that this act violated international law and that the Trump administration had no standing to do that. And we also, to this day, it is September 6th, we have no real understanding as to what exactly, like, what did the US military have that prompted them to then blow up a ship? What evidence was there to say that this boat had drugs? Even when you see the video, it is in black and white and it is very blurry, but there are no sign of drugs. There's really no sign of people on the ship. And also, how do you know that these people on the ship were in a gang? Because like my coworker said, for all we know, these could have been people just transporting supplies. Like, the Pentagon has not been transparent into telling because I think also the Pentagon is still trying to quote unquote figure out what they can share with the public, but they haven't shared nothing. They had told us something pretty basic and nothing that gave them basis to, again, blow up a ship. Now, for this next thing that Trump did to distract us is that he hosted a summit in Alaska where he invited Vladimir Putin and other world leaders to mainly talk about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And what was very interesting about this summit is that, so in the Western world, Vladimir Putin is not well liked at all. He is seen as a ruthless dictator to many. And this was his first time in anywhere in the Western world since Russia had invaded Ukraine back in 2022. So there was a lot of backlash that many people had for him being in Alaska. And the main reason for this summit was so that Trump can try to finally have a ceasefire or just a peace treaty happen between Russia and Ukraine. And again, also another interesting thing is that Vladimir Putin or Trump were not answering questions. They were asked them, but they weren't answering questions. They were just giving statements. And I was also reading an article, and something interesting that they said is that in their eyes, Putin was never used to being asked questions that almost question his authority. So having reporters ask him, like, why did you invade Ukraine? He would like smirk at times, and he just visibly seemed almost amused or maybe taken aback. That's covered up by being amused by these questions. And mind you, this summit did nothing. There was no ceasefire agreed to. There is no peace treaty that was made. This was a waste of time. And for the city of Anchorage in Alaska, where this summit was held, they spent almost $220,000 and they are seeking reimbursement from the Trump administration. Now, for this next thing that Trump is doing, I think this is the most extreme thing. Yes, I do. I do think this is the most extreme thing that he has done in as far as distractions, and that's deploying the National Guard to DC. And the reason that he did that is because he is citing high crime, and he deployed almost 800 National Guards. And essentially, he put the police department in the federal government's control. And how the Trump administration is doing this is by relying on Trump's authority under the Section 740 of the district's Home Rule Act, the decades-old law that established Washington's local government. The section gives the president the power to order the district's mayor to temporarily hand over control of the Metropolitan Police Force if the president determines that the special conditions of an emergency nature exist. And he can only have the troops there for a month unless Congress extends that time. Now, the DC mayor herself, Muriel Bowser, has been critical of the Trump deployment of the National Guard, but she was also quoted saying, "We think there is more accountability in the system, or at least perceived accountability in the system, that's driving down illegal behavior." And honestly, in my eyes, I feel like she's trying to stay as neutral as possible so she doesn't feel the wrath of the Trump administration. And in a way, I guess, I don't honestly, I don't understand. But I was going to say, I mean, she's in DC herself, so maybe she feels like she's going to be more directly impacted than any other mayor in another city. But when it comes to the administration, I feel like you need to have a backbone so they don't feel like they can just do anything because they technically have the power to do so. And what has ended up happening is that DC has now sued the Trump administration for its deployment of the National Guard, citing that it violates the Constitution and federal law. Now, this to me is the most egregious thing that Trump has done, and this is directly related to the Epstein files. And the reason I find it egregious is because Trump is basically now saying that the Epstein files are a hoax. And he said this after there was a press conference on September 3rd of Epstein survivors that held a conference in Washington, D.C., urging the Trump administration to release the Epstein files and urging them to not believe that it is a hoax. They were also urging the Trump administration not to give any exemption to Miss Maxwell. To Miss Maxwell, I never know how to say her first name, so I just call her Miss Maxwell. They don't want her to receive any leniency for her complicity in Epstein's crime, considering that she was basically delivering him girls, teenage girls at that. They are also saying that they are compiling their own Epstein list, and they will release that soon if there's no transparency from the Trump administration to the American people. And Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, has made a petition under a Transparency Act for the Epstein files, and this will allow him to basically bypass leadership and just present the bill to the House floor himself. And also, let's remember that Trump said that this was a hoax that was created by Obama, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and Joe Biden. While talking about the hoax, Trump said, Democrats did nothing about Jeffrey Epstein while he was alive except befriend him, socialize with him, travel to his island, and take his money, and claim that those calling for transparency in the infamous case are disingenuously seeming to show such love and heartfelt concerns for his victims. The now dying Epstein case was only brought back to life by the radical left Democrats because they are doing so poorly with the lowest poll numbers in the history of the party, while the Republicans are doing so well amongst the highest approval numbers the party has ever had. And that is a damn lie. Trump's approval ratings right now are god fucking awful. Hell, the job market is literally tanking. And the reason why I said that this was the worst offense that he has done to distract us by simply calling the files a hoax is because he's just downplaying Epstein being a serial predator altogether.
Transparency is justice. Release the files. End the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is watching, and so are the women who will come after us. Thank you.
Come along and speak up so that we can be more of a stronger voice and louder.
And so what is your message to President Trump on this, Maria?
Listen, I don't want to send a direct message to him. I'm already scared enough. Yeah, just pass the vote, listen to us. This is not a hoax. Like, it's not going to go away. And like I said on my speech earlier, we're not going to be silenced anymore. We will be speaking moving forward wherever we need to be. We will be, and we need to pass this.
Go ahead.
And Trump knows that he is in these files. Also, I forgot to mention Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who is one of the big pushers for the big, beautiful bill. He recently tried to say that Trump being in the Epstein files was him being an FBI informant.
And he's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
But then recently he took it back. So yeah. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is because a lot of people are saying that there are inner conflicts within MAGA when it comes to these files. I mean, you even have Marjorie Greene Taylor now wanting to sit on the front lines and support Epstein survivors. I feel like that's very great. Do not get me wrong. It just annoys me that all these things could have been avoided, but America was just not ready for a woman to be president, especially a woman of color. And I feel like Trump over the years has shown us over and over and over and over and over again who he is. This man does not care. This man has no morals. Anyone who is around him has no morals. Anyone who supports him, I don't care. They do not have morals. And like I said in my past video when I'm talking about Epstein and Trump's relationship, it still annoys me how it feels like people don't want these files so they can genuinely put predators away. People want these files as a gotcha moment. And this isn't a gotcha moment. And the fact that a sitting president is potentially in these files, and the fact that nobody is pretty much batting an eye is absolutely insane. And I feel like his distractions are getting more and more outrageous, and more that people's rights are being violated. Like the fact that this man blew up a Venezuelan ship where to this day it is September 6th. We still do not know if it's even true that that was an actual drug cartel boat. He blew up a ship. He's sending National Guards to cities where crime is already going down in the first place in those cities. So who knows the lengths that this man is willing to go simply because he can possibly be seen as a child predator. And I hate how people are now trying to act like, oh my God, we just regret Trump. Like he really is a horrible person. Like, and I want to say, I'm happy that people are empathizing with victims, that these politicians who are blatantly behind Trump are empathizing with victims. But also, I look at you like, girl, shut up. Like, you voted for this man. You fought for this man in office. You let him just do all these god-awful, morally wrong things. And now you want to cry? Like, you've known this whole time that Trump has been in these files. You're just now saying something while he is the president. So I don't bat an eye, I don't shed a tear to anyone who was a big supporter of Trump who now feels like they regret it. Like, I feel no sympathy. Sorry. Alright, you guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and keep it respectful in the comments, and always keep life cute, fab, and fun, and I will see you guys in the next video.